and welcome to this week's edition of WCS Sports Connection. I'm your co-host, Jimmy Qualls, and with us, as always, our resident baseball expert, Tate Mathews. Tate, baseball is coming to an end. NFL draft happened. We got some WCS Sports Conference news on that. We'll talk football in just a moment, but let's start with baseball. District play has come to an end for the 11 AAA group and for the 12 AA group. Let's start with the 12 AA group. Coach Zach Hudson needed one win away from clinching the title in the 12 AA regular season championship, and guess what?
He got it.
Got it done.
That's awesome. 12 AA champs, second year. Unbelievable. Great job. And that's a tough AA district, right? We've talked about that.
Marshall County, Forest, Community.
Central Magnet's a good baseball. They've been in the state tournament several times since they've been a school.
Yeah. Giles County as well. But you look at this, 16-12, 7-3. They split with Murfreesboro Central Magnet. Lost the first game 9-3, but won that second game, that most important one, 6-3, to clinch the championship. That also gives them the bye, which we talk about how important that is to get into the regional tournament automatically.
Yep, it's huge, and played a tough schedule. This was kind of, they knew the blueprint, and they executed the blueprint, so it's going to be fun to see what happens come region tournament, well, district tournament, and then region tournament, and then on to sectionals.
Let's talk about something real quick. Nolensville Athletics, second year in existence. You've got two teams, the boys and girls basketball teams, that go on into the sectionals / sub-state. You have the football team that wins a regional first round state sectional matchup, state playoff matchup, pardon me, first time or second time in TWA history.
That's right. Somebody's done it with no seniors.
Done it with no seniors. Baseball team regular season district champions, going to get into the regions.
Wrestling went to the state tournament.
I mean, would you say they're ahead of the curve as a second year school?
Yeah, without a doubt. Now, it helped them that they weren't AAA,
right.
But still, like we said, they're in some tough. There's some tough teams in that AA bracket, and then I guess football's in 4A. But yeah, I mean, without a doubt, I don't know how you couldn't be anything but very pleased with what they've done so far. And then, like we said, baseball's not finished yet, so we'll see what happens.
Congratulations once again, Coach Zach Hudson. Nolensville Knights are 12 AA champions. All right, let's look at the gauntlet, the best district in baseball.
I don't think anybody even outside of 11 AAA debates that. You know, there's years when 9 AAA thinks they have a claim to that and 10 AAA, but I don't think anybody debates. This is the best baseball district in the state anywhere.
Brentwood, 14-5, 13-3. They had to play Independence twice over the weekend. If they would have split, it would have gone into that Sunday game, which one had Ravenwood, the other one had Centennial. And you look at that and you think, you know, everybody's wanting to split. Come to find out, if they would have split, okay, it would have come down to 2 open spots in a tournament. That's the way they have their ties, which is interesting. There's no tiebreaker scheme that goes all the way down like, you know what I'm saying, all the way down head-to-head. And do, you know, once that all plays out and it's still a tie, you play for 2 open spots in the tournament. I love that. Did not know that until Coach McClory told us last week about their tie-breaking system. So everybody was cheering for Independence to split that thing on that second game. So there'd be 2 open spots, no buys for region play.
And it didn't come down to that.
It did not come down to that.
But it was close. And, you know, it's just like last year. I mean, hats off to Brentwood because you cannot put a price tag on that regular season championship because now, you know, you get for lack of a better term, get out of jail card free, right? I mean, if they don't win, they're moving on to the regional tournament now. Now, I know they want to win the district championship, but God, that's a security blanket.
Coach Bill Moore, the defending AAA state champion, back-to-back District 11 AAA state district champions, swept Independence 9-6, 3-2, but lost to Centennial, 5-3 on Sunday. Now, I would say that game was probably one of those games where, hey, we're going to let everybody roll. And
sure seems like it.
Yeah, 5-3. So they become the District 11 AAA champions. They get the bye. They're ranked 9th currently in AAA right now. Independence slides from 1st to 6th, so we've got 2 in the top 10. Centennial, 5-16, 6-10 in district play. They split with Spring Hill 13-4, but lost 10-5. They beat Brentwood 13-4, as we talked about on Sunday in that makeup game. They're going to come into the tournament as the number 8 seed. Coach Boffman is going to be in that play-in game with Franklin. Battle of Franklin. Winner goes, loser goes home. What do you think?
Well, you got to think they're both going to throw their best arms. So,
Got to. Don't have no choice. There's no tomorrow.
yeah, I mean, and I don't know what they did during the regular season, but I bet there's some sort of a split. I don't think either one of them swept the other one. So, I think that Centennial's number one is probably better than Franklin's number one, but you have no idea. You really have no idea how that's going to go. That's a coin flip, and that's why they're playing in the first game. That's how evenly matched they are. But I guess if you have to give a nod, I would say Centennial's
Hang on for that. Hang on for that. We're going to get pick'ems here in a minute. They did split in the regular season. Franklin 8-18, 3-13. Coach Whipple's group lost to Summit 6-2, 5-0. Beat Laverne 9-0. But coming in as a number 9 seed, they already had prepared for that mentally. They knew that coming in. Going to try to mount one last big run for the Rebs coming into this tournament in the play-in game. Independence 21-5, 11-5. They have lost 3 straight games. Is it time to pump the brakes on the Indy Nation train? Are we in trouble? Or as Coach McLaurin knows what's going on here, we're going to circle the wagons, get the ship righted, if you will, in the tournament, and try to get that number 2 or that second bid into the region.
Well, no, I don't think it's time to pump the brakes, but I think definitely no, I don't think this was by design. I think they wanted to win. Yeah, I know. And because, again, you're moving on. So, but no, I mean, they won, what? They win their first 15 games, I think. You don't do that by accident. This is a talented team. Brentwood just happens. We might have the 2 best teams in the state in the district right now. They might have just played last week for to decide it. And what's cool about it is there would be nothing better than if 2 of them ended up going. So
you know how happy that would make me.
Right.
They were swept by Brentwood, lost to Ravenwood 7-5. I think that's probably indicative on the same thing that we talked about with that Centennial game with Brentwood. That Sunday game, there's a little bit of a hangover issue. They lost those 2 games. Let's just potentially get some younger guys out there, whatever the case may be. But in defense of Ravenwood, Coach Teddy Craig's group right now is playing as hot as anybody. You know it. You call him that name every time, and we'll get with them in just a second. But Independence right now is the number 2 seed coming into the district tournament. Page 10-13, 6-10. Coach Ruden's group beat Spring Hill 3-1. They have Forest left non-district game. They're going to come in as a number 6 seed. They're in the middle of that pack on the lower half. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays. I said number 6. They will be the number 7 seed. We'll look at that bracket just in a moment. Ravenwood 21-7, 11-5. They've won 5 straight games. They swept Page 5-4 in both those games. They beat Springfield 15-1 and Indy 7-5. They're coming in as a number 3 seed. Look out, folks.
Yeah.
Raptor Fast is coming into this tournament.
Raptor Fast, Mr. May.
Be the tradition.
Be the tradition, and some really good pitchers. They got a number 1 that can go head to head with anybody. Carter Sells, Arkansas signee, I think. He's either a signee or a commit.
Correct.
This is their time of year. It has been in the past. So, I would not want to see Ravenwood now. Right? I would not want to see Ravenwood right now if I was anybody in that tournament.
Summit 16-8, 10-6. Old Sparty split with Dixon 16-2, but lost that second game 1-0. Beat Franklin 5-0. They're coming in as the 4 seed. They're in that dreaded 4-5 slot. Going to play that 4-5 game in the opening round. Obviously, the winner of that would move on to play. If you're looking at the seedings, if the seedings hold true, Brentwood in that second round. Thoughts about something?
Well, we talked about it a while ago. I think we knew who 1, 2, 3, 4 were. We thought they clearly are the best 4 teams in this region. It was just where it was going to shut out. Where it was going to play out. So Summit's a lot like Ravenwood, man. I think Brentwood and Independence are clearly the top 2 teams, but Ravenwood and Summit are right up under them and can beat anybody. So, they did this last year. They ended up winning this tournament last year, right? And did not win the district regular season. So they got a lot to play for. They're motivated. They're talented. Again, Ravenwood and Summit they're not somebody you want to see.
On the District 11, AA side Fairview right now, 9-15, 4-6, beat Creekwood 3-1. That's a big win for Fairview. They jumped up a spot from 6th to 5th in that 11 AA. They play divisions. They're sitting number 2 on their side right now. They'll play either Creekwood or Stewart County in the opening round. Depending on what happens this week, if they win, I think it's going to play Creekwood. That'd be an interesting turnaround. I have to play them again in that opening round. to advance in the 11 AA side. Softball, Brentwood 23-6, 9-0. Coach Erica Powell, they have won 11 games in a row, Tate. Beat Ravenwood 12-0 in the park, Pack the Park for Patton. Deal that happens every year, annual. This is actually the last year that happened, that they're going to have this particular event. But they have a huge game coming up this week with Page.
Yep, and so we already know what Brentwood is. We'll see what Page is, how close Page really is. They obviously are the second team in the district, and because they've earned it. But Brentwood, the TBCA, the polls that you always mention in baseball, that's done by the TBCA. I don't think there is one with softball. I wish they had one because I'd like to know where they'd have Brentwood ranked. And maybe they do, but they've got to be one of the top 3 teams in the state. And in baseball, you have a 3, 4, 5-man pitching crew, right? You don't have to have that in softball. So Page is going to see their number 1 pitcher. I think they've done a great job, but I think Brentwood is head and shoulders the best team in this district.
Centennial's coming in, still looking for their first district win. They're going to be the number 9 seed in this tournament. Franklin, 3-6 in district play. They're going to look to be the number 6 seed coming into this tournament. They still have Independence and Dixon left. Very interesting game for them because Indy and Dixon right now are sitting tied for second with Page looming in that 4 spot. If Page can upset Brentwood and beat Brentwood, they could potentially jump all the way up to second. So these games are very important for seeding purposes. Independence right now 7-3, 18-10 overall. We talked about the job Coach Buchanan's done right now. He's really done a remarkable job at Independence. The Lady Eagles are sitting in number 2, tied for number 2. Currently, they have Dixon left. If they can beat Dixon, they're going to pretty much sew up second place.
Be pretty strong.
And that's his former team that he's going to be coaching for. So it's interesting how that all plays out for him.
It's not if this gets built up, it's when.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Ravenwood 4-11, 3-6. They have Centennial and Dixon left as well. Number 7 in the rankings right now. Summit is number 8 seed going in this tournament. So let's look at it potentially. All right, so let's do a little pick'em. So we're going to do softball first, then we're going to look at the 11 AAA baseball.
Okay.
Softball, Brentwood High School, the number 1 seeding. Ravenwood Centennial going to play in this playing game. Winner takes on Brentwood. Loser goes to the house. What do you think?
Ravenwood.
You're going to predict Ravenwood. I have to agree with you right now. Centennial still looking for their first district win. You have to think that Ravenwood moves on in that game for the Battle of the Woods in the first round. Obviously, it's a double elimination tournament. Page, Spring Hill opening matchup.
Page.
I'm going to take Page. That is barring the fact that Page finishes in 4th. Okay? Right. Independence, Summit. We've got Independence right now in the 3rd slot. Summit in the 6th slot. Excuse me, Indy and Summit. Indy in the 3rd slot, Summit in the 6th. So you got winning.
Independence.
Again. I'm going to take Indy as well. Dixon, Franklin.
Dixon.
I think that you're probably accurate on that, but you know what? We have to differ somewhere. So I'm going to say,
perfect.
Let's go, Lady Rebs. Franklin.
I hope they beat them, but
but you're probably right there. If it holds true on the seeds, Dixon moves on. Brentwood, Ravenwood, Battle of the Woods. Brentwood. So you're looking at no losses for these particular teams going into the second round. Brentwood over Page. Who do you think?
Brentwood.
Okay. Independence and Dixon.
That's tough. I'm gonna go with Independence though.
I think so. You have to give the nod to them, right? So you're saying BHS, Independence in that semis, trying to get themselves into the championship game. You think Brentwood rolls this thing? Do you not? I
think Brentwood's going to Murfreesboro.
Okay, Brentwood. Okay, that's a good prediction. Brentwood goes to Murfreesboro. The losing team coming out of that though. Who do you think is going to be in the championship game with them?
Indy.
You think Brentwood, Indy both advance? Can Indy get out of the region? Is the question.
Who do we match up with? Who do we match up with?
Overton.
Oh, get out of the region? Yeah, yes. yeah. Whoever makes it out, those two are getting out of the region.
So you think
I thought you were talking sectionals.
So they both get sectionals.
Yeah, who do we match up with?
You're looking at probably Mount Juliet, Hendersonville. That's a little bit tougher for softball
tougher.
group.
Yeah, we definitely get one in.
Yeah. All right, the prediction is done. All right, so let's look at the 11 AAA baseball side. Okay, we're going to go all the way here, double elimination included. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right, Centennial Franklin, Battle of Franklin. Who wins that opening matchup?
Centennial.
I have to agree with you. Even though I said, the Rebels are going to be one of those teams that are going to be hard out, I just think right now Centennial, with a big win Sunday. You got to take that in, regardless of what happens. Centennial advances. Brentwood High, Centennial High, first game right there.
Brentwood.
Okay, I agree. VHS moves on. Summit, Dixon.
Summit. Although Dixon's scary.
They are very scary. This, to me, is the hardest pick of the whole group. But, hey, I'm sticking with Old Sparty.
Old Sparty.
My man Curb's going to get them through that. Summit puts Dixon in their first loss.
Curb was Mr. Baseball, I think, in '93. You want to start calling him Mr. Baseball? AAA Mr. Baseball? We got Mr. May. Let's start. Curb's Mr. Baseball.
He's not AAA Mr. Baseball.
Double A, I'm sorry.
He would have been Double A in
that's
Marshall County.
Correct.
But,
For Coach,
but we're going to call him
Who was the baseball coach? Coach George? Coach Edens?
Joe George.
Joe George.
All-time winningest baseball coach in TWA history. He is the
Jason
Barber,
Lane Maxwell
he is the
and
Barber
Kirby.
Campbell. Not quite. He's close to no.
No, he's
nobody's
not.
close to Barber
No.
Campbell.
Yeah, George Quarles and Rankin. Anyways, that's off.
To combine, maybe.
No, they both have.
I
Yeah,
know.
right.
All right, here we go. Ravenwood and Spring Hill. Who do you have?
Ravenwood.
I'm going to agree with that. Independence and Page.
Indy.
Indy moves on, so that means this elimination matchup here is interesting. You got Spring Hill and you've got Page. I believe Page. I believe they split during the year. Page, Spring Hill. So who do you have?
Page.
So you're going to have Page moving on. What about Centennial Dixon?
Dixon. I hope.
So we're going to differ on this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Centennial. So you think Dixon goes on, but you are right. Dixon is playing extremely well. I think that first loss could potentially really do it in for them, but they have some really good arms.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So, all right, Brentwood High School Summit.
Tough. I'm going Summit.
Going Summit with the upset.
Brentwood's through.
Ravenwood Indy.
I'm going with Indy.
I think they get back on the horse. Things are right. The ship is corrected. So then you've got a matchup. It looks like it would be Ravenwood, Page, and Brentwood and Dixon. I believe Brentwood would move on there. What do you think?
Yes.
So you're going to have a Brentwood, Page, Ravenwood.
Ravenwood.
You're going to have Ravenwood. All right, so you got a battle of the woods to move forward. Who do you have there?
Brentwood.
You've got Brentwood and Ravenwood being eliminated. So you got
Ravenwood being correct.
Summit Indy coming out of the winners bracket right now. Who you have winning that?
Indy.
You've got Indy winning over that. Summit, Brentwood, elimination of the tournament. Ooh.
Brentwood.
Putting Summit out.
Yes.
You look at all these matchups. You got to think, who's going to be pitching? All this it's crazy. So you have Brentwood Independence in a District 11 AAA championship. Obviously, Independence, Brentwood moving on. Who wins the championship?
I got Indy.
You've got Indy winning the
I
championship.
think it's Indy's year.
You think you got both moving on in regions, no doubt. You got both
Yes.
winning. You got both winning in the sectionals.
Definitely one of them. Yeah, I think both of them go. I really do. I'm not just saying that.
Well, if they haven't turned the TV off yet, now we're going to move to football. Let's talk about spring football. A lot of things have happened. We're going to start with Independence. The biggest thing that happened over the weekend, the NFL draft, 2018 NFL draft, Rashawn Golden, former Independence high school football star, moved to UT, now with the Carolina Panthers, selected in the 3rd round. That's pretty cool.
Very cool. Not many schools can say that they've got a former player that was drafted by the NFL. That's big. And congratulations to Rashawn. Great career. I think he'll play a long time. Barring injuries, I think he'll play a long time in the NFL. He's a special cat.
Don't want to jinx anybody, barring any injuries. Is it safe to say that we could go 2 years in a row putting somebody in the draft?
You talking about Van?
Well,
Or Tyrell?
Van's a potential, but I think Tyrell is a deadlock.
Yeah, I do too. I think Tyrell, he's going to be a junior though, right?
He's going to be a junior.
I think Tyrell plays 4 years.
You think so?
Yeah. But now, apparently, Van is tearing Gainesville up. He had a huge spring, so could be 3 years in a row. But yes, Tyrell will play on Sundays.
It'd be awesome.
Van will either play on Sundays or have a chance to play on Sundays. But yeah, they said he's having a big spring.
All right. So what do we know about Independence?
Well, I think we talked about it last year. You got to, it's kind of crazy, but got to find out who the quarterback's going to be. Ethan Cash transferred in. Cisco had They had a little bit of a down year record-wise, struggled on some things, but they could pass. They could move the ball in the air, and he had a lot of passing yards. He's a year older, year stronger, right? So they got to figure that out. The good thing is they know they've got two. Obviously, we talked last week who's going to replace Troy Henderson. Might have to do that by committee, and then the main thing is Coach wants to get back to. There's been a championship winning attitude. He felt like since he's been there, he felt like that was not there last year. How do we get that back? I'm assuming that's something you do in the locker room, but
one person.
That's his number one thing.
T.J. Sheffield.
He's a dude.
T.J.'s a dude.
Yeah. Find a way to get him the ball.
Got to get him the ball. Got to find a way to get him the ball, and I think he brings a lot of things to this game. Backfield-wise, receiver-wise, slot receiver, all those positions opens it up. Now, the question is there going to be an emergence of somebody else? Because once he moves, obviously he's going to get key defenders on him. So somebody else is going to have to step up to the plate to help him carry that load. And if they find that second and even potentially have a third, you better look out. Sheffield will have one of those years.
Oh, yeah. If you can't double him, you're in trouble because he's special, man. He's, you sit and track. I mean, there's going to be very few, if any, teams that line up across from them and have anybody who can run with him, So,
and he's going to be, I think he's releasing his top 4 here pretty soon about where he's looking at potentially going.
He's got some nice
I would have to
choices.
say, if I was guessing, I think Notre Dame will be in that top 4 because I know they had a great visit at Notre Dame. So I think they're going to be in the top 4. I don't know how many SEC schools will be in that. I know they went on a visit to Ohio State. I don't think
he likes Louisville, didn't I see that?
I think so. Stanford was in the mix early. I think they're going to be. I think they're not going to make the top 4. I'm not exactly sure who else. It's the who's who. You can select where you want to go, so it's going to be pretty neat.
And especially if he has a big year this year, which you got to think he will. I mean, there's going to be even more. So, and I don't know if I said they scrimmaged Riverdale on May the 11th, which Riverdale's they had a really good year. Going to be good again next year. That'll be a nice scrimmage.
All right, Centennial Cougars. Coach Kreisky and his crew coming back, looking to bounce back from that roughly 500 year they had last year. What's in store for Centennial?
Well, the funny thing about last year is we forget. We talk about what a great year Ravenwood had. Centennial was one of their losses, They started them off, I believe it was the first game of the season, maybe week 2. And they had a bunch of games like that where they were really close. That record could have been, I guess it could have gone the other way too, but that record could have been, you know what I'm saying? They weren't that far off, I didn't think. So the main thing two things they got to figure out is, one, their quarterback, Trey Stewart's gone. Got to figure out who the quarterback's going to be. But talking to Coach Kreisky, he thinks the guy they're going to miss the most is Tavion Fleming. Not only offensively, but defensively. He was a great playmaker for him on offense. Who's going to be that guy to step up and do that? Defensively, he was, just as important, maybe even more valuable in the secondary. So you got to think running backs, they're in pretty good shape there with Jariel and Trey Carlton, wouldn't you say? So got to figure out some on the offensive and defensive lines, but kind of the same thing as a lot of guys. But that's the main thing that Coach Kreisky wants to see is who's going to be that guy to do what Tavion did.
Let me ask you a question about the quarterback position for Centennial. I mean, with those particular people that you named, is it going to be more beneficial to try to figure out a way to ground and pound that thing and try to get them the ball that way, or try to flatten them out a little bit and maybe spread it out just some?
I think a lot of that has to do with what kind of offensive lineman do you have. He likes to run the ball. So if they've got the guys that can make holes for him to run, those two guys are going to be able to. Those two guys are the kind of guys, if they get to second level, that's where 5-6 yard gains, 9 yard gains, those are 30, 40, kind of like Ty Carter. Those guys have the ability. You get them to the second level, make that guy miss.
That's right.
It's going to be a long
And
run.
if the holes close up, they can tend to bounce outside of those sometimes.
That's right.
So what about the Franklin? Speaking of Centennial, Battle of Franklin, what about the Franklin Rebels? What do they look like?
Well, they lost a bunch of their they lost pretty much all of their offensive line but one, defensive line. So they've got to figure both of those out. They've got to go to they got to figure out who the quarterback's going to be. But even more than that, he after last season, Coach feels like he needs to they just got to get back to doing things the right way, the little things. I don't think anybody has any position sewn up right now. It's all open. So spring ought to be fun for a lot of guys. It's almost like a clean slate.
Potentially new look Rebels.
That's right.
Ravenwood, reigning champions of the region. Coach Matt Daniels, I think this is a little ahead of schedule. I think they were expecting this year, this coming up year, to be the year, maybe even the following year. Seems like to me they're a little bit ahead of schedule. He's feeling really, really good about his team.
Yeah, and he should. And like, so one thing he likes to remind us of from last year, we were two of them. You know, I thought when we started, who are the four? Who's going to be left out? Remember, you were asking that question.
And we said
who's going to be
Ravenwood.
left out of the playoffs? Ravenwood. They were a kickoff return away from going to the semifinals, which I feel like they would have won that game. They'd have been in Cookeville. But so that's one of his big things is how do we handle? We are no longer the hunters. We're kind of the hunted, right? I don't know if they'll be pick number one when the coaches do their picks, but I think they probably will.
Too, yeah.
So he wants to know, raised expectations, how are we going to respond to that? And then they lost all their linebackers and all their defensive backs. Andrew McCarthy, one of them. He was one of the top linebackers in the state. You know, he was a heck of a player. I think 130 tackles, okay?
Wilco finalist.
Wilco finalist, and should be. All their DBs are gone, all their linebackers gone. So they got to find that. Something very comforting, and another guy that we talked about a lot. They'll miss Nick Stallcup. You know, maybe on the stat line it doesn't show up, maybe like some other people, but that guy could do a little bit of everything. He made plays, and he was obviously a leader. Positive, Brian Garcia, sophomore quarterback last year. He's going to be a junior. He's back. The thing I love about when he started looking at once he became the quarterback last year, you know, he threw for. Right at about 2,000 yards, 16, 17, 18. He only threw 4 interceptions. And
efficient.
Well, he's a sophomore again, and they're playing tough, top-notch competition. So I think Brian's one of the top returning quarterbacks, if not the best returning quarterback for next year. And they're always going to have some skill guys. So that's what they got to do.
A team that's going to have something to say about that. Obviously, Brentwood High School, Coach Crawford looking at having to replace Shacklet, Dreyer.
Think about this.
Just a few guys.
They got to replace Shacklet, Dreyer, Bouillon. They have to replace 10 starters on defense. They lost their kicker, their punter, their long snapper, and their holder. But they're deep. They've got guys that are waiting.
Sure.
That's what they're no longer building depth, right? They've been doing that. Now that it's time for this next batch to step up. But man, those are some big shoes to fill.
It's going to be fun. Can't wait. It's going to be right around the corner. We got scrimmages coming up, obviously going into summer practices, dead period. Last week of June, first week of July, the week of July the 4th. After dead period's over, and I know, it is grind time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. It's going to be here before you know it. It's pretty amazing.
It's going to be a great season.
Wilco's 2 weeks away. Whew, it's all coming to an end. We got the spring fling coming up. We've always had really, really good spring flings. Tennis teams, expecting to repeat in tennis. Yeah. Looking at track, we have not won a track and field state championship since I've been here. We've won some individual, but as a team, hopefully we can get close to that, and hopefully our baseball team will repeat, and maybe Erica Powell can get that monkey off the back for the WCS Sports Conference and get that first state championship, or somebody from our district get that softball state championship.
Yeah, it's coming. And soccer.
And soccer as well. I mean, it just keeps going. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on WCS Sports Connection.